And those who join late, we can pick up with them. But we have, I think, all the kind of people that are needed to contribute on the conversation right now, and we'll take it from there. So, welcome to this the second session of this webinar series on circular business and entrepreneurship in Africa, where as a community of development institutions, innovation funds, entrepreneurship organizations, and entrepreneurs, we're looking at ways that we can work together as effectively as possible to improve access to resources and funding and advocacy for circular economy entrepreneurs working in Africa. Our first session of this series it focused on how scalability should be used as an optic to assess the investability of early-stage entrepreneurs. And our unanimous conclusion was that while important, scalability is not a suitable metric on its own. I just realized my video is not on, it's not to me. And so in this session, we're looking at hardware and software innovation as both are really foundational circular business models. And while foundational hardware and software innovation have yet to take off in a meaningful way on the continent. So to discuss why hardware and software innovation are so important, why we still aren't close to having hardware and software-based circular unicorns, and the ideal types of interventions that might help us to change course. We've invited Netta Hanin, Director of Programs and Partnerships, and Remy Solarin, Head of Product Design at Innovate, an Abuja-based hardware innovation lab, as well as Sean Kolade, who's an Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship and International Development at De Montfort University in the United Kingdom, to dig into these questions. And so for this session, we've given both Netta and Sean an extremely fictional $1 million to design their own dream entrepreneurship programs, which they believe would generate the most value in terms of skills acquisition, networks, and capital raising potential. So before opening questions to the audience, we would be inviting a panel of experts made up of innovation funds and entrepreneurs to share reflections. And at the end of this session, we would ask you, the audience, to vote on your preferred program. So a piece of housekeeping, the session is booked for 90 minutes. However, we hope to close at about 1/4 past the hour, just to respect everyone's valuable time. And so for time management reasons, we would invite comments and questions to come through the chat. And myself or my partner in crime, Oba, will share them with our distinguished panelists. So before getting to the final $1 million programs, I wanted to ask Netta, Remy, and Sean a few questions. So first, Netta, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about Innovate and why that you believe that hardware innovation is so critical for the development of circular economy businesses.
Okay, hello everyone, nice to see you. Innovate Hub in Abuja is an innovation center that is focused on driving the next leap in Nigeria. You know, Nigeria already made a huge leap when it comes to software and digital solutions and the capacities around it. But however, we are still very much behind whenever it comes to hardware. We very much depend on importation of solutions and expertise, and we are focused on localizing the whole process of research, development, production, manufacturing of innovative hardware solutions. I will mention that we are not only working on hardware, but also software. But in this conversation, I'm focused on the hardware aspect. We run programs that are around entrepreneurship and innovation development, and we provide support not only on the entrepreneurial and business development aspect, but also provide hands-on support on product and technology development, including mentorship, bringing in experts from all over the world to support the development, as well as providing access to very advanced tools, machinery, and technology that we have in the center. So why does hardware is so important for circular economy innovations? Well, we've seen many entrepreneurs who are trying to address circular economy challenges by turning waste into some other valuable products. And these usually involve hardware products that takes a lot of expertise and access to tools and expertise on the whole product design and product development process. So for a hardware entrepreneur to succeed, it takes both the entrepreneurial aspect of it is about both identifying a real need and a real market need, both in terms of what kind of waste you are recycling into products, as well as identifying and making sure you validate that the product you are developing is actually needed and desired by the market. There's also a need to really come up with a cost-effective product design that is also taking under considerations the available and accessible ways of small-scale production and manufacturing in Nigeria to prevent being dependent on external resources or importation of parts. And for that, again, you need access to expertise and technology and tools. It's also very important to develop a sustainable business model, and this takes mentorship and training, as well as creating valuable partnerships that helps you source your materials or scale your business. Yes, and the challenges that we identify in this area are around, again, access to expertise and technologies, which sometimes end up with not cost-effective enough product design. We've seen entrepreneurs who had a really great idea. We will show you examples later. Really great ideas of how they can use waste into valuable products, but then with the limited access they had to expertise and technology, the product design they came with were not cost effective enough, and at the end of the day they ended up with a really nice idea but not a sustainable business. We are about really bridging this gap and supporting the entrepreneurs by helping them understand what would be the best way to design your product so that it's both cost effective, but also something that you're able to independently produce or cost effectively produce locally in Nigeria. And we take our decisions around how we design the product according to those considerations. Another challenge we identify is a big one, which is how do you go from having one good prototype to being investment ready? Usually investors are asking you to show that you gain traction, that you already have a couple of hundreds of your products in the market, they have been tested, they have been used, you got feedback from your users, you iterated on the prototype, and now you are well prepared to pitch to investors. But then in Nigeria, when it comes to hardware, it's really challenging. While in software solutions, all you need is, of course, a great idea and capabilities. You need access to computer, you need time, and you need to get it out there online. And then you start gaining traction and feedback from your users. However, when it comes to hardware, to go from one prototype to testing it in the market, it takes being able to go for small scale production, which is very expensive. In Nigeria, they are not really accessible opportunities for hardware entrepreneurs to find services of small scale production, which makes it really hard on them to run a pilot and then become investment ready. So this is also a gap that we are looking to bridge by helping them find the best cost-effective ways to go through this small-scale manufacturing or production stage. Yes, and then of course, yeah, I think that's it for now, and we will share more insights later.
Thanks, Netta. Definitely, there's a number of points to follow up on, but I do want to open the floor to Sean, who maybe equally, if you could just tell, you've been working on circular economy and digital innovation themes for nearly a decade. So just to maybe share a little bit more also about your work and your perspectives about the importance of digital innovation for circular economy and circular businesses.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, Natalie, and thanks, Nita, for an excellent presentation there. I will share my screen very, very briefly. I will. Oh, there's an error. Can you hear me? I think somebody is unmuted. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, brilliant. Right. Okay, so I will just, just a quick one, really. And, hopefully in the course of the session, we'll be able to, consider some of these issues more. But I just want to sort of lay out, the basic argument, which is, the fundamental premises of the circular economy. Is about sustainability, of course. It is about the future of the planet also. We know that the linear economy is really about, make, take, and dispose. You're really creating waste after use, basically. So that is the logic of the linear economy, and it's not sustainable. Certainly not in the context in which, the population across the world is increasing, and the African continent is the fastest growing continent in terms of population. So whereas, of course, the logic or the paradigm of the circular economy is about, make, you use, you collect, you transform and reuse, and on again like that. And it's a compelling imperative, for not only for the continent, but for the global economy at large. There are opportunities to reuse materials. I think it's good to begin with that. But I think in order to lay the argument for software innovations, we need to first go back to understanding why are we stuck in the linear economy. There are locking mechanisms, that are responsible, and not only for the linear economy, but any kind of economy, And this has to do with, the idea of sunk investment, where you've seen a lot of, investment already into linear, products, linear habits of consumption. Of course, the economies of scale as well. You have some of those linear products, in huge, production, and the companies, like we said, are, heavily invested into it. Economies of scope also is part of it. But the network effect is a key part of why the linear market, has sort of been the dominant one. And the way it works, of course, is if you have, the more people are using a particular item, the more, value is created, or rather the more, the more others use it. So it sort of become, the dominant product, in the market. And that is one of the biggest challenge actually to the continuing dominance of the linear economy. And of course, there are also the issue around technology interrelatedness as well, including the technology of production for linear products. So in order to upend this trajectory of linear economy, we need a different kind of strategy and market, that is able to create, a counter or alternative network effect, create new markets. And that is where, the arguments for software innovation begin to gather pace. Technology is important, is always going to be important. Hardware are always going to be very important because you need products, and these are tangible physical products. But I think like Neta already mentioned, the major issue, for example, for investor is, market traction. So it comes down to how many, what is the demand and what is the supply? So there are potentials, there are opportunities in the Africa circular economy. I've highlighted some of them there. I hope you can see them. So we have a population that is going to double by 2050 from 1.2 billion to 2.5 billion. So there are a whole range of opportunities there, including circular construction. We can no longer use the current, paradigm of, construction where we're using, non-renewable products. Or indeed, we talk about millions of informal waste pickers, already in the ecosystem, in the informal economy, but, largely invisible. So again, how do we actually bring them in, integrate them, make them visible, empower them? You have, $1 trillion industry opportunity, via circular food system is huge, huge opportunity. Considering the population of the continent as well. And of course, we have, across the globe, huge losses, with single-use plastics. So there are opportunities there to cut losses, to create new forms of value. And of course, green job opportunities, in PET, which is the main, source of single-use plastic waste. So PET recycling, great opportunities are there, across the board. So we need to think then beyond technology. Technology is great, but circular business model innovations are the instrument through which we can actually harness, the value creation and value capture opportunities there. So you need, that meeting point, of technological innovation and new innovative circular business models that can, harness the power of technology, that can harness, the opportunities there in hardware. And so what I've set up, here very briefly for the $1 million dollar idea, the fiction and $1 million idea, is actually to harness the power of the blockchain. Why? Because, of course, we know in circular supply chain, which is with the issue that Neta is actually identifying there, about some of the smaller producers, small-scale producers they are having difficulty with resourcing. They're having difficulty in linking up with expertise. They are having, and this is part of what a circular supply chain does, by linking, actors together, by, harnessing those characteristics of trust or traceability or transparency to actually integrate, those key, reverse supply chain processes, the recycle, the redistribution, the remanufacture, okay? And the impact you create there is a network effect, where, those smaller producers are able to, get their resources, more efficiently. And then, you're able to optimize, the allocation across the entire ecosystem. And again, another feature of blockchain, of course, is what is decentralized financing. We know that traditional financing really is especially not fit for purpose on the African continent. Millions of people, there have been innovations in recent time. Millions of people have sort of been locked out, especially within the informal economy. So we need this to empower those millions of waste pickers, and it generates that ecosystem effect, because it means that recyclers, entrepreneurial recyclers, can get the resources by being linked up by this opportunity for these waste pickers to get a better value as well through this financial empowerment, this decentralized financing. It could be through blockchain tokens that they can exchange for fiat currency. And there is also, of course, the blockchain-enabled deposit refund scheme, DRS, as you know. And what that does is include millions of people. So what you are doing when you go back to the locking mechanism of the linear economy is you're pending that by creating network effect. There are more people are into the circular economy. It gives opportunity for the expansion of circular product, and therefore opportunity for entrepreneurs to create and capture more value. And finally, blockchain-enabled extended producer responsibility as well, and again, what that does is that we tend to hear a lot of commitment and promises from big corporations, many of those who are, engaged in unsustainable practices, but through the pressure of, public pressure and all of that, they make commitment. But how do we know actually they are following on their commitment? With blockchain, we can trace, we can track, we can see whether actually, some of the product in terms of, new design, new beyond the product, across the product life cycle, as well as reuse, what are they doing after this product goes out into the market? So we can track actually, and monitor the commitment of big corporations, which again, invariably, give opportunity for entrepreneurs to create more value, bring, recyclers, of course, into the picture, informal waste pickers, into the picture, because presumably some of these original producers of these waste will also be, committed monetarily, to supporting the recycling process, and of course, millions of households as well. So, and all of that then create a network effect, which we'll be exploring later on. So I will stop there for now. And hopefully, as the conversation goes on, we'll be exploring some of these in a little more detail. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I think you've given us a hint into the DREAM program already, Sean. Netta, I want to maybe backtrack a little bit into what you've discussed around some of, and I'm going to ask a similar question of you, Sean. Is one of the reasons we're having this session now is that I think we can all recognize that hardware and software are so critical to building circular business models on the continent, but we don't have those unicorns yet. And Netta, in your sort of when you began, you started talking about how there really isn't the resources from an expertise standpoint, and also just from building the prototype standpoint to make manufacturing, like small scale manufacturing, possible. Maybe I wonder if you could reflect a little bit more on what is it going to take to build that kind of unicorn, I guess, from a manufacturing standpoint. What do you see that journey looking like?
Remy?
Okay, I thought, okay, Netta and Natalie, thank you for including me in this talk. I will do what we can to explain what we're trying to do at Innovate Hub in Abuja. I may actually start, please, by describing one of the projects we started with. It was a project for, sorry.
So did you hear the question?
Sorry, please repeat.
I thought so.
All right, I'll repeat it again. So the question relates to a point that Netta raised around some of the issues facing hardware entrepreneurs in Nigeria, and that being the fact that they don't have the access to the resources, to the expertise, to build prototypes at a small scale before that they can grow them, which of course limits the potential of creating that sort of dream unicorn. And I wanted to know, from the perspective of Innovate, what's the roadmap? What does it look like? So to get from a point where entrepreneurs are building those prototypes that are cost effective, but then get to a point where, you know, mass manufacturing is actually possible.
Okay, maybe we can actually use Dozie's example for that. So can I share my screen?
Can do.
All right. So yes, I will use Dozie's example. Dozie is the founder of Guadeloupe, and Remy, you will come in soon. So Dozie had a really great idea of how to leverage e-waste and create a value. So his idea was based on turning electronic waste, e-waste, and plastic waste into solar lanterns, right? Great idea, and all the circular economy organizations were really excited about that and supported him. However, since he had no access to advanced tools and expertise, he ended up with this product, right? So he actually received a grant, and he used it to go and consult with product designers and produce this initial prototype that he had. And let me hand over to Remy, so he will take you through the process that Dozie went through, and then I will go back. I will build on that to answer your question.
Great, thank you, Net. From that diagram, it's actually a product designed for plastic manufacturing. The problem with the design is purely was designed as a prototype and not really considered in terms of the manufacture. So Dozie was tied in that individual who came up with the design, where his costing not actually matched the actual real cost of the product. So with a fraction of the amount of products at an inflated price. One of the things we try to do is to reassess how to make a product that actually is not only attractive, but also manufactured from many different suppliers in Nigeria. So we looked at two very, very simple ways of doing this. If I can just show you my screen. If I just turn the camera. Oh, sorry. Okay, yes. Thank you, Netta. Thanks, please. Yeah. So you can see from the diagram there, we have an interesting shape lid, which is using a technique called vacuum forming. Vacuum forming is very simple in that we just get a 3D printed mold, which then has a very thin layer of plastic heated up in order, you can see on the left-hand side, the actual mold itself. And a thin layer of plastic is heated up and a vacuum is used to actually create form. This is a very cost-effective way of producing a form. The thing that Dozie needed was a bulk in order to be able to contain the recycled batteries. He had access to plastic that's been recycled from television screens. So we then came up with a very simple design using laser cutting. Now, laser cutting can be done anywhere in Nigeria, where we simply laser cut, as Netta is showing, the actual sheets that are recycled. So those sheets for next to nothing rather than being thrown away. And we just simply laser cut the actual body of the actual component. So what we've arrived at is something that is 100% recycled, not just in the batteries, but in the materials, a fraction of the cost that original prototype was made, and something that you can see from the image there. There's one of our experts here, a gentleman called Chris, demonstrating the vacuum forming. The machine behind them is something we fabricate here in Innovate in less than 2 or 3 days to actually demonstrate how the machine works. So we have the capability at the Innovate Hub to also make the machinery necessary in order to be able to We have recently reinvested in a very high quality vacuum forming machine, but that's required in Nigeria. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you. It's just that you are breaking a little bit. Okay, so I will build on that, and I will just explain that I think the key to help entrepreneurs succeed with hardware innovations initiatives is to bridge the gap between having one prototype to being able to produce in small scale and then test your products in the market. Once you've done that, you may be able to raise investments and become this unicorn, right? Or just a successful business, sustainable business. And the way we think this should be done is by looking at the product design. And instead of the entrepreneur losing all his funds to develop something that is not scalable and is not cost effective or has no sustainable business model, helping them come up with a with a more cost effective design that is also taking under consideration how can they also go to small scale production. That will actually, if they have a good idea, if they identify a real need and they are creating a product that is needed in the market, there is no reason why they shouldn't succeed if they get this kind of support. So again, with Dozy, we did that. We came up with a better solution, better product design. We provided him with the mold that he needs and with the vacuum forming machine that he needs. And now he is completely independent in producing these products, and he's doing very, very well with his sales and with his business. You're looking at Guadalupe's happy customer using the solar lantern that is 70% recycled. And yes, so that's the way we address bridging this gap.
Thanks, Nessa. And that's I think maybe to sum it up is that what you're saying is to get to that stage where there's really a growth path for manufacturing or hardware based. I think this goes for both circular and non-circular business. Is that it is an iterative process that requires quite a bit of patience. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yes, and of course, when I'll get to presenting my dream program, I will also talk about networking and connecting and the whole ecosystem building. But that's for later. You awesome. Just give me this time.
Okay. John, I'm just going to move to you on the same kind of question, because I think you raised 2 points in your when you spoke a little bit about the issues related to linear versus circular economy, and the problem with actually growing the business models, that there's some structural issues, that you have a network effect that sort of means that a non-circular business is more possible, or it's just it's a very big move to get to circular. And then you pointed to some opportunities that were based on substantial financial innovations that you described as being quite large scale, which is promising. Like it's exciting, but then we're in a context, I think, in Nigeria right now where in a very quick move, the government tried to make a quick move to a cashless society, and that has, of course, had very, very detrimental effects. That's really underscored how much is cash-based in this economy, and how few people really have access to financial technologies to conduct transactions. And I'm wondering if you could just reflect a little bit, based in your presentation, is how do you see this really working in a way that is going to really create the value for the people that you described?
Yeah, thanks, Natalie. I think you're opening up, another a very, very interesting conversation there, which I would try to not go deeply into. I don't think the recent situation we have, in the country is really about, the government wanting to move to a cashless, society. I think it's very much, very, very political. And I would try to, stay off that track for now. But what I would say is that we have seen, the merit, the compelling merit of digital, transformation in the informal sector. Those that are not even driven by government. I mean, government is really being dragged along, if you like. I mean, I was in Nigeria earlier in the year. Every small enterprise I went to, they are using POS. They don't want cash. And that is nothing to do really with government, pushing things. Really, it's easier, it's convenient for people, it's more secure, and they do transfer, they use POS. And so, yeah, it's what I see, and the main point here, and I don't know whether I have any further ground reveal at the end, actually. The main point here is that the linear economy is habit forming, and we've all sort of gone drawn to it in the global economy. And in order to upend that, you need to create a counter kind of network effect to upend those mechanisms that we see in the linear economy. So and to use the example of 3D printing, which Netta and Remy have raised, and I love that. It's brilliant. I think one thing about 3D printing, I've done some studies on that. I published a paper recently on that, is that it is also very much driven by software innovations, right? It is very much driven by innovative computer design that you then feed into the 3D printer. And so it comes back to why that is really necessary. And I think what is also exciting about that is that those kind of challenges some of these entrepreneurs, some of these small producers are facing can be mitigated because this design can be shared, right? It can be shared, it can be customized. In fact, one of the compelling, disruptive logic of 3D printing is that, it works on the economy of one. All right, so you don't need to actually produce on large scale in order to realize profit. You can actually, is the economy of one, is the ability to customize product as well that, that 3D printing offers. But all of that, again, is linked to the software innovation, to those innovative designs, maybe starting with a design that is shared and then you can customize it. And of course, I think in general, what you need, and again, coming back to the point that Netta raised earlier, is the need to move from prototype, okay, to small scale, okay, production, then to test your product in the market and then convince investors. How do you get, to those who need this product? How do you actually increase demand? You need, software innovation to be able to link people together. It may well be, Remy, that a brilliant product that you have there in Abuja, there is somebody there in far away Ibadan or somewhere in Ekiti, who is interested in that product, and they don't know that you exist. And this is where software innovation actually come very, very, very strong and handy. I think the interlinkages, the capacity to actually link and bring people together to create that, network effect. I think you need, software innovation. In order to do that, you need that in order to bring, entrepreneurs together and to grow and expand the market. Yeah, and I think that is the main thing, really. You can have brilliant, prototypes. You can have, this great hardware, but in order to actually create and expand the market, you need to be able to bring people together. And that is where, a technology like blockchain does so well. And this has been tried successfully in different parts of the continent. Banku is a very good example. It started in the Republic of Congo and was able to bring, really informal actors, into play. And it also works not only on high tech, you don't need smartphones, for example. There are farmers who have been connected to their, ordinary phones, and they are able to get tokens and alert for their tokens on their ordinary phones. So you need, a mix of low tech and high tech as well. And that is where, software innovation come really handy. So I will pause there for now, Natalie.
Thanks so much. So before we get to the big reveal of the two software and hardware innovation programs, I just want to ask a little bit about the what kind of person is successful, could be successful in these programs. And Netta, you pointed out that almost anybody could be successful. It's a question of having the right tools. But I think both yourself and Sean were also discussing the runway, how long it takes for something to take off. So maybe just before we get 1 minute each, just to get your thoughts on what it takes. What's the kind of characteristic of the ideal entrepreneur doing either kind of programming or getting involved in this kind of work?
Okay.
Netta first.
All right. What kind of person? Okay, first of all, you have to have the entrepreneurial spark. You have to be very driven. And in the case of a circular economy, you must be also very passionate about creating impact, since sometimes it's even more challenging to create a sustainable business around those areas. And you have to be you have to be very patient, and you have to be ready to learn. You have to be ready to face failures also, and learn from them. And you must not fall in love with your idea. You must be able to identify when the idea just doesn't make sense anymore, and you need to pivot or change it a little bit so it will be more it will have more potential. But basically, yes, an entrepreneur.
Sean, anything else to add?
Well, I mean, so I agree with all of that, Netta, very well said. I would say you have to be passionate. You have to be passionate about it. You know, you need the energy, and you have to be bold, you know, because there are opportunities out there, and you just have to go for it and to take the risk, you know, and recognizing that, you know, things do not always turn out the way you expect in the short term. But the circular economy is here to stay, you know, is a long game. So when you take risk, it's also recognizing that, you know, there will be, you know, the reward is there. It might require a bit of patience. I think it will require a bit of patience. Netta, I agree with that. But I think more importantly, also, you need to be connected. That is again coming back to the software aspect. You need to be linked. You need to be within the ecosystem. You need to be actively, you know, connected within the ecosystem, and in order to, you know, realize, to capture value, optimal value. Yeah, I think those are the things I would add.
Yeah, if I may add, I think being a team player and really identifying your own strengths and onboarding partners or other team members who will complement, or you say complement, right? Who with complementary skills. If you are the technical person, great, get someone to manage the business or be the marketing person, or the opposite.
Awesome. Okay, so now the moment we've all been waiting for. The $1 million program. I'm wondering if $1 million is enough. But Netta, let's start with you on what it is, based on the discussion we've had and the information you've shared, what it is that you believe is going to create the most value to hardware entrepreneurs.
All right. I can already tell you $1 million is not enough from experience. But okay, let's try. I'm sharing my screen again, right? So I'll take you through the plan. So the plan for the $3 million program is to first, it's a year-long program, okay? It's starting with an intensive in-person bootcamp in our Innovate Hub in Abuja. It's the first in-person gathering is actually 10 days, a 10 days boot camp in which we equip the participants, the different. First of all, we selected to this program entrepreneurs who went through a very selective process, and we really identified potential in their ideas, etc. Once they are there, they come to this first in-person boot camp in which we provide them with all the methodologies and tools around entrepreneurship development, venture creation development, which they will use during the whole year-long program. We also get to know their ideas and start to think about what would the high-level design of the product would look like, or how can we support them on the product development process. Then we send them off to do some market validation process. We give them all the tools and knowledge about how to do it. They really go out there and validate that the market is actually, that there's actually a market need for what they're trying to solve and develop. Then we also provide them with knowledge and tools on how to go about high-level design, product requirements documents, market requirements document, like really professional product development process, facilitated and mentored by our CTO and technical teams of team of experts and our team of technical experts. Then they come, after going through a high-level design process, they come back to and after validating that there's a real need in the market, they come back to Innovate Hub and they go through a rapid prototyping process. Then they go back to the market and test their prototypes and iterate if they learn something and if we came to conclusion that we need to change the prototype or improve it, we do that. And through the whole time, we work with them on the development of a sustainable business model, networking, etc. Eventually, after several iterations, we go for the pilot. We actually, and this is the part which we don't yet have in our, all the way up to now, we are already doing it in Innovate. People are ending up with an actual physical functioning prototype of their product. But now our vision is to also be able to help them with their small scale production, going from one prototype to 500 products that can be piloted in the market. And after this pilot, after learning from feedback from users, then we are ready to pitch to investors. And of course, we have a big showcase event where we show our products and pitch to investors. I will take you through it also with images really quick. So everything you see here is already happening at Innovate Hub in Abuja. This is the first boot camp where we teach the entrepreneurs on everything they need to know about validation, business models, etc., market entry strategies. Then we send them off to validate the market. We also engage mentors from Nigeria and from the world, mentors that are technical mentors, but also mentors from the industry who can open doors, who can give valuable feedback from the perspective of the local industry. Yes, this is an online meeting with an international expert. When they are away from when they are working remotely with us, we also continue providing support. This is our CTO teaching them about the product development process and supporting them on creating high-level designs. This is our team of experts, of technical experts. We are in partnership with MakeLab, which is a global community of makers who are coming all the way to Nigeria to provide hands-on support on the developments. And this is our in-house team of experts. Those are our heads of departments. We have electronics, robotics, 3D printing, software, product design, crafts, and fabrication. Right, so then once the entrepreneurs are in the process of the product development, they are being supported by our in-house experts through all the way through the whole process of the product design and development. As you can see here, this is actually Dozy and Remy when they were working on Dozy's design. We don't only give advice, we actually, join forces and develop the products together and build them. This is when we built the vacuum forming machine for Dozy. This is an example of a 3D small model of a soilless farming system, which eventually was produced also in real sizes. Our media team is not only covering our activities, but also providing support on creating media content for the entrepreneurs, such as video pitches that can be used to send to investors and potential partners. And then eventually a showcase event in which we see ourselves as an ecosystem builders. We invite all the important stakeholders and key players in the ecosystem, and the participants are able to show their products and also pitch to investors and raise funds. Networking is very, very important. As we said, for example, this is Babatunde, who graduated one of our programs. We introduced Natalie. Natalie was a mentor in our program, and we have a strong collaborative relationship. So Babatunde ended up in circular economies program and ended up partnering with the Nigerian breweries, which is a very valuable partnership for him. Is turning paper waste into affordable ceiling tiles. Right. Sorry. Can you hear the phone ringing? No. Okay. So then eventually, so this is what we have been doing so far in the last 3 years already. But as I said, in our imaginary dream program, we also have an additional section in our hub in which we can actually incubate the businesses. We can actually incubate the businesses and their small-scale manufacturing plants. They share resources. Some of them use the machinery and technology that already exist in the center for small-scale production. And for some of them, we need and we will acquire the missing parts. And we will take them all the way to successfully running a pilot in the market, selling 500 units, being able to pitch to the investors after already being there and gaining some traction and becoming investment ready. Yes. So that's it, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Netta. And it's great to hear that your dream program is just an extension of the work that you're already doing, which is fantastic. Just a time check, it's almost 1 o'clock. I know that Julia from Lab of Tomorrow has graciously agreed to give some feedback, but she has to leave at 1. So what I'm going to do is just ask her to give some reflections as in her capacity as more of an innovation fund, from an innovation fund standpoint, to reflect a little bit on what she's heard so far today in terms of what we see as being the major issues in terms of building businesses and venture building in across Africa, from her perspective of supporting this process. So Julia, if I can hand it over to you for just a couple minutes comment.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Hi, Neta. Hi, Remy. And hello, Sean. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. It was, as always, very inspiring to listen to you. And I'm not a circular economy expert by any means, but so please don't think I'm so. But I just have a few things that just came to my mind during listening to you, and that I just want to share with you. Because I mean, the first one is, at least in my perspective, circular economy is really one of the key elements of a just transition towards a social ecological economy that just, I mean, it takes equal care of sustainable growth while also caring for the environment. And coming from the German Development Corporation, this is, of course, basically ingrained in my DNA that this is what we're working towards. And what I found extremely interesting also, the way you kind of balance your pitches out, is that software development and then hardware development are sometimes kind of seen as almost competing against each other. And that like the hardware solutions, also what I found very interesting, I was speaking in the Lab of Tomorrow sprint, kind of like, yeah, a little bit like sometimes feels less innovative than the software solutions and platforms and everything. And at the same time, it's also much more cost effective and intensive in investment. But the thing is, from my experiences, they can't go without each other. So linking software development, hardware development, and really connecting the dots there, I think is extremely crucial. And I think I really like that also in your ideas. So I mean, and this is then when my background as a sociologist kicks in, and it comes really shine from your comments, is that the transformation towards a circular economy is really based on the change as a society as a whole, which technically has to happen worldwide. And it can't be done overnight. And being still really ingrained in that linear economy is something that I think we need to work on over the next probably decade. But it is important that we stay on top of things there. And coming to the innovation projects, and the thing that I really like what you were saying, Netta, when we were talking about the person, was that the scaling up is extremely vital for all innovation projects. And what I heard the other day was somebody saying, well, you'd rather have a great entrepreneur with a bad idea than a bad entrepreneur with a really good idea. Because in the end, the person, the great entrepreneur who's in love with the problem and not in love with the solution will eventually change that idea and adapt it to and soak up all the knowledge and information and develop it further. So that's something that I would also maybe add to the person that we're talking about. So what we will offer, of what I think is super interesting in this venture building and in regards of innovation, is bridging the gaps between software, between technology, and really getting the knowledge that is already readily available all over the world. And with the programs, the two are basically the three that I'm heading here from Germany, the Strategic Partnership for Technology in Africa and the Lab of Tomorrow and the Coalition for Health, basically what we're doing is we're building upon networks with the private sector from European companies or even worldwide companies that then also make their knowledge accessible for startups and for innovative ideas and so on from Africa, but also from other countries worldwide. And I think this and I think tapping upon that knowledge and getting into this exchange, I think can really provide initiatives towards building these unicorns and sharing this knowledge to overcome some of, I think, one of the biggest challenges that we're facing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julia. And I appreciate how you recognize that it's this is a long game and a systems issue. Knowing the GIZ is invested, I think, in the long term. And I just one very quick follow-up question is just in terms of the capacity to address these issues, because I think this is something that we see very systematically. Is this issue that the missing middle question? Is there the capacity within your sphere to address this? What Netta and I think Sean have described as providing that capital that enables a startup to go from the prototype to the small scale, and to also to connecting and to building those networks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I can only tell you I'm working on it. It's a gap that, we're German Development Corporation, so we are working on behalf of the German government with the German taxpayers' money. So what we can't do currently is invest like a classical business angel or whatsoever. Which is the way it is. What we can do, however, is we can collaborate, we can network, we can offer ideas and knowledge and those networks that we are having. So if anybody that's in this team is out or in this workshop is interested on the Lab of Tomorrow, we're currently also accepting challenges for Lab of Tomorrow. So I'll post the link in the chat here maybe so you can have a look at our website. And if you have a business challenge where a marketable business solution is the ideal outcome, if you have an issue there, we could maybe work on that. So that's more of what we can do and what we can offer. But unfortunately, we are not business angels or investors.
It's no problem. We're all in this together. Thank you so much for your time, Julia. I know you're already 5 minutes over where you need next to be, and we're very much looking forward to collaborating and working with you further. I'm going to turn now to Sean to present. And I know we've had we've already had a sneak peek, but to present his view of what his $1 million software program is.
Okay, thanks so much, Natalie. I will be very quick so as to give time for participants and, of course, all the entrepreneurs who weigh in as well. I think in a nutshell, like I did mention in the earlier slide, I don't need to share that again. I can send to you, Natalie, later on for participants. So the idea I'm proposing is to create a blockchain-enabled app, a blockchain app that has several features. And so the first feature is the one that actually brings up to 10,000 entrepreneurs, that brings them into the decentralized platform. A kind of a supply chain, where they can sort of, the resource issues that we're talking about earlier on, the expertise issues, that we're talking about earlier on. There can be sharing, it can be, a decentralized sharing platform, sharing resources, both intangible expert resources and, tangible ones as well. So having that kind of platform that it brings together a large number of entrepreneurs, in the circular economy is one of the things that such a platform will do. But also, like I said earlier on, the decentralized finance feature that is able to enable these, speakers, millions of them, at least 1 million. So there's a target of 1 million now to start with, across the continent, really. to be able to get better reward for their, circular economy activities. I think, that would be a second part of that. What that does, of course, is to build, that market, and of course, linking them better to recyclers as well, so that when they connect, on that platform, there's also opportunity to link up there with recyclers as well. And of course, bringing household in. So you want to, because like we said, linear economy is so entrenched. If you want to append that, you need to begin to, you need that, the large number of people coming in as well. Households, the deposit refund scheme, where we can have, digital tokens, on that platform as well. That people can sort of collect, when they return, materials and get, reward for it. They can convert it to fiat, like I mentioned. And the final feature of that is that, extended producer responsibility feature, where, the platform is tracking product across, the value chain from design to see big corporation, big manufacturers actually being true to their commitment to be sustainable product from design, but also beyond, the use to what is happening to bring big corporation in terms of financial investment and commitment, as well as, product, design and all that. So a platform like that, would be a good mix of both low tech, medium tech, and high tech features to meet the needs, of various, members of the platform, including, like I said, those informal web speakers, as well as entrepreneurs, 10,000 of them. So that in a nutshell is a plan for a blockchain app that can have those key features. So that would be, in my view, a good value for $1 million, because with $1 million, you are bringing 10 million people into the ecosystem. So 1 for 10, I call it.
Awesome. Using resources to build volumes, that really creates the marketplace is the solution that you're proposing. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to turn to Joshua Adedeji from KTN, who's patiently been listening to both sides of the discussion, also for your to get your feedback as well, again, from the perspective of an innovation fund, what views you have about the types of issues that have been raised and the types of solutions that have been shared.
Yeah, thanks so much, Nat. Would you permit me to stay off camera for now? Yeah, so sorry. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon here in Nigeria. And thank you so much. My name is Joshua Adedeji, like Nat mentioned, and I work for Innovate UK, KTN. I mean, just like Julia spoke earlier, I'm not also so much of an expert, especially when it comes to circularity. But of course, from my engagement, within the innovation space, I think I can, just provide some insight. So personally, for me, also alluding to what Julia had mentioned, I think the intersection of the software and the hardware is really important, and which is what has been mentioned and I mean repeated here today. There's no way one can actually go without the other. We always have to complement. And from the initial presentation, I like some of the things raised by Netta when it comes to looking at access to technology, looking at local resource, and of course looking at some very cost-effective way to actually build our prototype and whatever solutions we are building. And also from Sean's perspective, I think I also really like the blockchain idea, so which is something I've personally been exploring for quite some time, building some necessary access, for those who might not have the right access. So one thing I'm actually keen about is more from the collaboration and knowledge partnerships. So looking at how can we explore transfer of knowledge, I mean, which speaks to a lot of things that we do at Innovate UK, and of course the work that we support. So we look critically at what are potential challenges and potential solutions from wherever it is. So usually we work in terms of launching challenges, with experts and partners, and crowdsourcing, for potential solutions. And the way it has worked is actually in transferring of knowledge, looking at experts, from some of the countries where we work, and of course helping them to, to collaborate with local actors. So I think partnerships, it's really a bedrock of the work that that we do, and I could say that mentioned most time in the presentation that we have today. And one other thing that as we mentioned today is in terms of supporting small scale producers to have access to resource, which I think is also a very important one. As an organization, one thing we don't we have access to connecting with the right resource, either financial resource or partners. So we don't often do direct investment in a way. But one thing that we've done is actually to provide support, especially when it comes to early stage. Should I call it investment? Providing early stage fund in any ways, if I can put it that way, which can actually support in terms of prototyping some started solution. And one thing that actually come at that point, which I really don't see much of that happen today, is the conversation around IP, so which is a major issue locally. And so we've done some work with some of the innovation actors in South Africa, where we look into the IPR Act, which actually support the work that they do within the innovation ecosystem. So one of those things, I think it's something that we also look at in Nigeria. The final thing I want to mention, which I put in my note here, is also related to investment, which I think from recent conversation with the actors in the ecosystem, I believe there are a lot of conversation around innovative finance, financial instruments, which is actually coming up, which is totally different from the traditional finance, because for new solutions that we are building, especially within the circular economy, it's definitely involve new thinking when it comes to the financial instrument that needs to be used. We can't go the same way, especially when we need to do a lot of proof of concept at this stage, and there is a need to actually look out for investors who can, to an extent, take some, early loss, when it comes to their investment. So I know a lot of conversation is coming at that, and yeah, we've seen a couple of investors also talking about, blending, several instruments at some point. But like I said, it's an upcoming conversation, and I think it's something that is building up, especially for the secular sector. So those are some of the things that I actually have here, but I will just want to reiterate the, in terms of the work that we do, which is the essence of, knowledge partnerships, which we are actually keen on and we are, strong on. And that's what we've been doing, through the Global Alliance Africa projects, especially in manufacturing, in circular economy, and of course in energy, given some of the work that we do. We launched some challenges recently, which some of you might be aware of. When I saw the new product, I think I've seen the product recently with when we started working with Inkly Recycling, where we launched certain challenges around the second life usage for lithium-ion batteries. And the challenge was live a couple of months ago. The solution providers have been selected, and they will be funded to actually prototype certain solution, for that challenge. And that's where we actually come in terms of providing the right resource. I could see a message here. Yeah, I'm happy to connect. Sorry, I read out the message that comes to me. So I'm happy to connect. So I will share my email. Sorry that I'm just trying to rush through what I've put in my notes. But if there are other specific questions around the work that we do at Innovate UK KTN, if I may say, we are actually the innovation agency of the UK government anyways. So we currently do a lot of our work in Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. And we are also very big on the circular economy. So if there are questions that you have, if there are ways we need to connect, with experts, we have experts in plastic, PET, and most of them sit in the UK. I sit here as a programs person anyways, but I'm happy to make the right connections. And when it comes to investment conversation, I'm happy to also speak with anyone, based on my experience in the sector. Yeah, thanks, Nat. I think that's it from me in terms of some of the points I've seen and how where I see knowledge partnerships comes in, especially from our work.
Thanks, Joshua. I think actually it's interesting because I think the KTN structure really lends itself well to the type of programming that Netta described in terms of moving from the prototyping, because the small kind of R&D ticket would support something like that. So I think this is something that's really worthwhile to explore further. And then I think from Sean's proposal, looking at these innovative forms of financing that enable kind of that collective use, like leveraging of existing or developed technologies, that would be the pathway for that one. So I think you've raised some really, really great points. I know we're almost close to past the hour, and I really wanted to get the perspective of a couple entrepreneurs as well. So we had invited Shope, who is, sorry, Shope, let's get your full name. Shope Afolayan of Garden in a Box, to give his own reflections just in terms of what's been presented today. Does that really deliver? Does it sound like the issues you're facing? Does it really, with the proposals that have been shared, really deliver to solve your problems and your issues as an entrepreneur?
Hello, everyone. My name is Afolayan. Can you hear me, please?
Can hear you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I would also like to stay off camera because of where I am at the moment. Thanks to Netta and Sean, it's been tremendously insightful, I must say. I operate in the food system space. It's just that largely when people talk about circular economy in this part of the world, it's usually around plastic, around e-waste, basically. But I think I've been able to pick a thing or two here. Okay, for instance, let me just share just a little bit about my products, Garden in a Box Africa. So it's a physical product that also has, like Julia was saying, that also has a digital aspect to it. So it's a physical product and there's a software as well. So Garden in a Box Africa is an organic vegetable starter kit. So you have all the basic elements you need in the box, a very small box, to start and run your organic vegetables successfully in your home, whether you have a front yard or a backyard or you're yardless. So it has some of the most important tools and elements you need, like you have your organic compost in it, you have your organic pesticide in it, you have your basic hand tools, grow bags, and a few others, and your seeds, viable seeds. Then the software part, I realized that when I started creating prototypes and experimenting, I noticed that growing is demanding. You need commitment. I mean, Neda talked about passion. You need to tend your garden, if you really want to get the best. So there was a time I was in Kigali, and I mean, for 3 days, nobody was there to tend to the garden. So what the software does is sends you tailor reminders, custom-made reminders, and of course, you have illustrations, animations, and everything about whatever you're growing. So what we want to do at the moment is once we launch, I mean, we're still building the software part of it. So the summary is once we launch, you are able to, whether you buy our product or not, we want to leave it open. Anybody can download it and you have access to all the resources there. So everything from growing to weather forecast in real time, to taking care of pests, to, I mean, connecting a community of experienced vegetable gardeners. So practically that's what the idea is all about. But like I was saying, I've learned a thing or two here that I think I can also deploy to scale my business, especially technology-wise, and and also to make it sustainable. Thank you. Can you hear me, please?
Great, we can hear you. Great. Before we get to the votes on who's on the program, and of course, this is not really a competition. We do know that that hardware and software innovation are not at all at another. It's just a fun exercise. I do see there's a couple of other entrepreneurs on the call. I'd be really interested to hear their points of view about whether what's been presented today resonates with them from a standpoint of what their needs are and where we think we're kind of driving and sailing the ship to push it to to help you realize value and realize success. And I'm going to call on you if someone doesn't answer. Gideon.
Sorry, I'm actually double tasking actually. Sorry about that. I'm at the GCIP Investors Connect program, but I am happy to participate. Thank you very much for calling on me. So my name is Gideon Fakoladi, and I'm with Retreasure. So at Retreasure is a recycling enablement platform that lets communities recycle conveniently and with dignity. So when we started our market research, we realized that many people actually want to recycle, but not many people are actually recycling. And we went to the markets with that question of why are people not recycling? And we realized that many people are not recycling because of the associated factors of convenience and also dignity. We're in a part of the world where people, some persons look down on anybody involved in recycling. So, and that's the problem we are solving. And we are solving this problem by uniquely integrating software with hardware components. So we have the software component that takes care of the registration, accumulation of earnings, and also reward claims. But our hardware, we call it a patented recycling kit. All right, so this recycling kit has two major components. We have what we call these crates. So these crates, just like you have crates that takes care of when the bottling companies brings our content in breakable bottles. So we just added S to the crates. So the S there represents source separation. So this crate allows users from the communities, from the restaurants, event centers, hotels, where people consume content from packaging waste, to be able to separate their recyclable waste right from source and be able to sell it. This crate is unique because it has a unique identifier tag. It also comes with a near-field communication card that allows them to access the wagon. So the wagon, the smart wagon, has a card reader, has a communication system, has a weight sensor, and is managed by local recyclers. So we have local recyclers as franchises on our platform who manage them, who offtake the content of the smart wagon, and then they're able to convert to cash. So the recyclable waste is raw materials for the recycler, and then the users at homes, at event centers, at restaurants, at hotels, they have recyclable waste they want to sell. So we connect them, we connect the recyclers with the users from home. And I'm looking forward to this program. In fact, when I saw the lab of tomorrow, I seen the link, and I'm excited. I saw like 10 hours to go, and I'm currently on it. And I see each prospect here. And thank you very much for the invitation. And thank you also for the insightful sessions to all the speakers so far. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gideon. Maybe just before we go to the vote, for some closing comments from Sean first, and then Netta.
Yeah, thank you very much once again for a very interesting conversation, Natalie. I think my closing comment would be that, you know, the merit, the argument for software solution is that it leverages on existing social and physical infrastructures. It leverages on the fact that there are a lot of people, like the last speaker said, who want to recycle. There are a lot of informal waste speakers, you know, who, deny dignity and empowerment. And there are, you know, entrepreneurs already in this space, you know, who are looking for resources, who are looking, you know, for orders within the ecosystem in order for them to maximize, you know, the value creation, value capture opportunity. So what is a software solution like the blockchain-enabled platform that we discussed does is to harness, you know, and maximize, optimize those existing, you know, social and physical infrastructures, including hardware, you know, for optimal value. And that is the big the big argument there is the linchpin that connects and invigorate the entire circular ecosystem, bringing millions of households into the picture, bringing thousands of entrepreneurs into the picture, bringing, you know, millions of informal waste pickers and recyclers into the picture for great, you know, market effect for transitioning to circular economy. So thank you, Natalie.
Thank you so much. Netta, your closing comments.
Yeah, it's kind of the same, more of the same. I see a lot of comments in the chat about how it's all about having systems thinking toward different sector industry and how they can cascade, how we can create synergies between all of the players and stakeholders and entrepreneurs. And I think you know, creating the connections and connecting the dots is the most important part. And thank you, SAPE, Circular Economy Innovation Partnership, for doing just that by all of your activities. This one, for example, is exactly what we need.
Thank you so much. Okay. We only have 1 minute to go to the close of the hour, and I'd promised that we'd stop at 1:15. So we are going to close with our votes. Oba, if you want to set it up, which program would those on the call like to sign up for that's been presented?
Should we vote in the chat box?
I think we have a poll. Oba,
Yeah, we have it.
yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Here it's up. And we'll give it 1 more second. Oh, it looks like, damn, they are both good. I want to do it all. Let's do it. We got a lot of work on our hands, and we're really excited to keep going on and pushing forward. Thanks so much for the conversation today. I think personally I've learned a lot, and I have renewed motivation and hope to press forward to serve this community. Thanks all. Thanks to everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you very much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Natalie. And bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This